For the last several years, you have been living inside a carefully constructed illusion, a statistical fantasy, broadcast 24/7 by a compliant media and a self-congratulatory political class. You were told a story of a booming job market, a resilient American economy, a nation of endless and abundant opportunity. They held up a single, shining number, the unemployment rate, and they told you it was the lowest in 50 years. They told you with unwavering confidence that everything was fine. It is arguably the most dangerous and consequential lie of our time. Because while they were celebrating their manufactured statistics in the halls of power, the real economy, the one you live and work in every single day, was beginning to rot from the inside out. The foundation was cracking. The pillars were buckling. A deep, systemic sickness was taking hold, hidden in plain sight, obscured by a fog of propaganda and deliberately misleading data. And now, the collapse is no longer a secret, no longer a whisper in the footnotes of obscure economic reports. It is here. It is happening all around us, in every sector, in every state. This is not a cooling. It is not a softening. It is a catastrophic structural failure of the American labor market, and it is accelerating at a terrifying speed. Today, we pull back the curtain, tear down the statistical illusion, and expose the grim truth they have been so desperately trying to hide. Section 1. How they faked the boom. To understand the collapse that is happening now, you must first understand the profound deception that preceded it. The jobs boom they sold you was a masterclass in statistical manipulation, a grand illusion worthy of the greatest magicians. Their entire trick rested on focusing your attention on one thing and one thing only, the headline unemployment rate, the U3 number. They knew this was a deeply flawed, easily manipulated, and profoundly misleading metric. Why is it a lie? Because this number is designed to conceal, not to reveal. It conveniently and deliberately ignores millions upon millions of struggling Americans. It completely ignores the workers who have grown so discouraged, so beaten down by a system that has no place for them, that they have given up looking for a job entirely. It completely ignores the millions who are underemployed. The former engineer now driving for Uber, the laid-off office manager working 15 hours a week at a coffee shop. They have a job, so they are not counted as unemployed, but their economic reality is one of ruin. And most importantly, the headline number makes no distinction between a high-paying, full-time career with benefits and a low-wage, part-time gig with no security and no future. In the eyes of the government statistician, a newly created bartender job is counted with the same weight as a lost engineering position. While they were celebrating this single, hollow number, the real data, the data they hoped you wouldn't look at, was telling a horrifying story. The labor force participation rate, the true measure of the health and engagement of the workforce, has remained stubbornly and dangerously below pre-pandemic levels. This is the smoking gun. It means millions of prime-age workers, mostly men, have simply vanished from the economy. They aren't unemployed. In the cold, cruel calculus of the government, they have ceased to exist. Furthermore, the quality of the jobs being created was systematically deteriorating. The government's own data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics revealed a shocking and unsustainable trend. The vast majority of job growth was not in stable, full-time work. It was a boom in part-time jobs and in a statistical illusion created by the birth-death model, which estimates job growth from new businesses that may or may not exist. The most telling data point of all was the massive surge in Americans forced to work multiple jobs, 2, even 3, just to piece together enough income to survive. This was not a sign of a strong economy. It was a quiet scream of desperation from a middle class that was being systematically dismantled and pushed into a state of permanent servitude. Section 2. The white-collar bloodbath. The first visible, undeniable crack in the dam was the white-collar bloodbath. The very industries that were supposed to be the engine of the new, sophisticated, information-based economy, technology, finance, media, and professional services, have become the epicenters of the collapse. For the last 2 years, we have witnessed a relentless, rolling tsunami of mass layoffs that continues to this day. It began in the high-flying, arrogant world of big tech, where hundreds of thousands of high-paying software engineering, marketing, and project management jobs were vaporized in a matter of months. The media, acting as stenographers for corporate PR departments, told you this was a necessary correction after pandemic-era overhiring. This was a comforting lie. The layoffs didn't stop. They accelerated, becoming a permanent structural feature as these companies pivot to AI and automation, realizing they can achieve the same output with a fraction of the human workforce. The contagion is now spread far beyond Silicon Valley, infecting every corner of the corporate world. It is torn through Wall Street, where the biggest banks are shedding thousands of employees in anticipation of a deep recession. It has gutted the media industry, with legacy and digital outlets alike announcing round after round of brutal cuts, and it is now ripping through the once invincible professional services sector. The consultants, the accountants, the lawyers, the very people who advise other companies on efficiency are now finding themselves on the chopping block. These are not the low-wage, easily replaced jobs of the past. These are the high-salary, high-skill careers that were supposed to be the safe haven of the modern economy. Their disappearance is creating a massive shockwave. It is cratering the commercial real estate market as office towers in every major city sit empty, triggering a slow-motion banking crisis. And it is destroying the high-end consumer demand that propped up the entire service economy, creating a ripple effect of failure that is now cascading downwards with terrifying force.
Section 3. The blue-collar implosion. Look at the trucking industry, the circulatory system of American commerce. The Cass Freight Index, a critical real-time measure of shipping volumes, has been in a sustained, deep, and worsening recession for over a year. It's not a slowdown, it's a downturn. Major, legendary trucking companies have declared bankruptcy, laying off tens of thousands of drivers and support staff. This is not a forecast, it is a real-time signal that the movement of goods in America has slowed to a crawl. The demand from businesses and consumers is vanishing. Look at the manufacturing sector. The ISM Manufacturing Index, the gold standard for the health of our industrial base, has been in contraction territory month after month after month. It is a portrait of an industry in decline. Factories are idling, new orders are drying up. The dream of a great American manufacturing renaissance has been replaced by the grim reality of a global slowdown, persistent inflation, and weakening consumer power. And look at the construction industry. Outside of a few government-subsidized mega-projects, the demand for new homes has fallen off a cliff due to the affordability crisis, and commercial construction has ground to a halt. Small and medium-sized contractors, the lifeblood of the industry, are going out of business at an alarming rate. The jobs for electricians, plumbers, and carpenters that were plentiful just 2 years ago are now becoming scarce. The physical economy is seizing up, and millions of working-class jobs are disappearing with it. Section 4. The small business apocalypse. The final and perhaps most tragic part of this collapse is the small business apocalypse. Small businesses are the true engine of job creation in America, employing nearly half of the entire workforce. They are the heart and soul of our communities, and that engine is being systematically dismantled and destroyed. For the last 3 years, they have been brutalized by a perfect storm of biblical proportions. First by the devastating, state-mandated lockdowns, then by a crisis of crippling inflation that drove up their costs from supplies to rent to labor. And now, they are facing the final, merciless kill shot, a collapse in consumer demand as households run out of savings, combined with the crushing weight of high interest rates, which has made it impossible to get the capital and the loans they need to survive. The result is a silent, rolling wave of quiet bankruptcies happening on every main street in America. The local restaurant that survived for 20 years, the family-owned hardware store, the independent boutique. They are closing their doors for good. The government's headline data on job losses often misses this slow, agonizing decay until it's too late. With every small business that fails, not only are a half dozen jobs lost, but a piece of the community's soul is lost with it. This is not just an economic collapse, it is a hollowing out of the very fabric of American life, a great consolidation of power into the hands of a few mega-corporations.
Conclusion: the unavoidable reckoning. So, we stand here today amidst the wreckage of a lie. The white-collar jobs are gone. The blue-collar jobs are disappearing. The small businesses are being wiped out. And the government, the architects of this disaster, are still trying to sell you the story of a strong and resilient economy. This was not an accident. This was the inevitable, foreseeable, and frankly predictable consequence of a series of reckless and arrogant decisions made by the people in power. They created this crisis with their response to the pandemic, choosing to shut down the real, productive economy while simultaneously flooding the financial system with trillions of dollars of printed money. This created a bizarre, distorted, funhouse mirror economy, a sugar high of artificial, debt-fueled demand that was never sustainable. They knew it was a temporary fix that would have devastating, long-term consequences. They knew it would lead to crippling inflation and a violent, painful correction. They did it anyway. And now, we are facing those consequences. The hangover from that sugar high is a brutal economic reality, a reality of persistent inflation that has destroyed the savings of the middle class, a reality of crushing public and private debt, and a reality of a job market that is now being forced through a violent and agonizing correction. What you are witnessing is not just a recession. It is a fundamental repricing of the American economy, away from the phantom wealth of the financial markets and back to the grim reality of what we can actually produce and afford. The jobs that were lost are not coming back. The illusion of prosperity has been shattered, replaced by the cold, hard reality of a nation that has been living far beyond its means. The most dangerous phase is now upon us. As the unemployment numbers inevitably begin to rise, the very people who created this crisis will use it as an excuse to seize even more power. They will propose more bailouts for their friends, more government programs, more spending, more printing, the very same poison that caused the disease in the first place. But now you know the truth. You know the boom was a lie, and the bust was the predictable result. The American job market is not cooling. It is collapsing under the weight of a failed ideology and a series of catastrophic decisions. The road ahead will be difficult, and the first and most critical step to navigating it is to see the truth, no matter how ugly and uncomfortable it is.